Alrighty, guys. So I did want to make a stream at some point about these new uni abilities, but time is just not something that I have. So there are new Unison abilities that take your uni instead of your cost. So you can't use them right off the bat in things like PvE or in PvP or guild battle. So we'll have to see. They are exceptionally powerful, but I figured I would do a new type of video. Hopefully you guys like it. I'm going to go over each ability and then test it out, and we'll see how it goes. I'm testing it out mostly for things like speed and other things, like to see just how powerful these abilities are, and and if it's sustainable. If you can't gain uni fast enough, then some of these abilities might not be worth it. I wanted to also go over how you unlock these abilities. If you go to normal quests, in bottom right, there is a new chapter 3. You select chapter 3 and you have to complete stage 6. So the first ability that we're going to be going over is this one right here. It's called Wild Domination. I apologize. I believe I'm a little bit sick right now. Sorry. So it's a 10-second cooldown. Costs 15 uni. Scythe main slot. Lancer exclusive. One enemy. Removes resurrection, which I like because we'll see what it ends up doing. But resurrection is good, especially when you're trying to kill somebody. One enemy reduces unison gauge by 3 every second for 10 seconds. So that would be a total of 30 uni down. So we'll have to see. I predict that moving forward, unison reduction resistance will be mandatory for basically every class, and every class will have 100% uni reduction resistance. It'll just be something that you have to have. That's my guess. So hits one enemy 3 times for 100 ability power, 100% success value, penetrates damage reduction, damage reflection, hits them again for 5 times with 200 ability power, 70% success value, penetrates damage reduction, damage reflection. So this is very, very similar to Rage Breaks damage, which is the exact same. It just hits a little bit. It hits 3 and 5, and it has 100% and 70%. So we'll have to see. I'll go into a match and we'll do some testing now. So I'll hop in and we'll see. Alrighty. So I am fighting against Heimdall, doing the Dragon Quest. So this will just show you the speed and the number of hits. So that's Rage Break, and then you can get this guy. It actually does pretty good damage, and as you can see at the top of your screen, at the top of your character, it says Unison at the top. So that's interesting. Now, as I'm kind of spamming abilities, I feel like I am not having any problems with a PvP set keeping high uni. As you can see, I think it's pretty good. So my overall opinion of this ability is it's just a pure upgrade to Raging Break. Like, it's probably the best damaging ability that Lancers will have access to. So here I can leave. So yeah, the speed was pretty good. Like sometimes abilities come out where their speed is incredibly slow. But I was surprised that ability, I think it's probably among one of the best PvP abilities in the entire game. Now, it probably doesn't come close to Zerker's Mockingblade still, even though the number of hits is higher, the fact that and the ability power is higher. My guess is that Mockingblade will still be better for two main reasons. The first is that Mockingblade, although it's probably slower than Wild Domination, it can be used almost immediately in things like PvP and guild battles and stuff like that when you're trying to kill people. The second reason is because Mockingblade already kills people. So you don't really need an upgrade to Mockingblade because it already one-shots pretty much everyone, and there's nothing that you can do to stop it. The main appeal of something like this, having it on a Lancer, it actually will probably do significantly less damage. And that's because when you're looking at classes, Zerkers are really, really fascinating. They get a bunch of bonuses to ability power, to all of their damage, all of their damaging abilities, ability power. And ability power is the most powerful thing in the entire game. So although Mockingblade says that it's only 150 ability power, realistically, it's probably closer to 300 ability power. So when you're looking to kill somebody, I would still shy away from something like Mockingblade. However, I do think it introduces an interesting dynamic, because Wild Domination might be a move that you swap in instead of running. So like in a guild battle set, you might run something. You might run something like this. If you're like on a support kind of character, something like this might be good. Do you see what I'm saying? So like you have the Unshackable in guild battle, and you'd be a frontline, and you would only have Wild Domination if you needed to kill people. But for the most part, you would just be there to control people's uni. So it is an interesting ability. We'll have to see how valuable it is. It could be extremely powerful because it does do a ton of damage. And it's fast too. It is definitely not the fastest abilities in the game. It's not one of the fastest abilities in the game, but it's a fast ability. I would probably rank this ability. It's hard for me to rank this ability among all of the physical PvP abilities. The sheer fact of the matter is that I can see a vision for this ability being close to a 9 out of 10. I think it's really, really powerful. But I still, because Unison is like using Unison as a stat is so new for things like guild battle and things like PvP, I'm hesitant just because Unison wins matches. If you have uni, you can win matches. And reducing your own uni gets you further away from that goal. However, there may be situations like I talked about where, let's say that you are just a frontline support Lancer, and so you run things like Lions and where is Master Lancer's Cry? Something like this, so that you're slowing down the enemy's gains. And you can also run something like Cheer instead of Unshackleable. But the idea being that you're like a frontline Lancer mix, but you lost the uni clash, or you just want to kill the enemies as soon as you get your uni. And as soon as you get 15 uni, you just try to kill the enemy racer. That's another thing. So it could be meta defining. I'm going to put it at like a 9.5 with a question mark, because it's counterintuitive. You want uni in order to win the match, but at the same time, there are situations where this could be exceptionally powerful. So I'm just gonna put that as my guess, is that this is a 9 out of 10 ability, and we'll have to see. Now for things like PvE, it's garbage. It doesn't dual scale. So this is only a PvP and a guild battle ability. All right, so the next one that we're going to go over is Indomitable Winter. It is 10-second cooldown, 15 uni, so same as before, soldier exclusive, sword main slot, which is perfect because for this type of ability, we'll go over it, but it hits 5 times, which is a lot, with attack and defense scaling moves. Insane. With a success value of 80 at 100 ability power. That's already really good. But it does 3 additional hits at 200 ability power with 100% guarantee. Also dual scaling attack and defense. All allies reduces physical and magical damage taken by 30% for 5 seconds. All allies applies reliance state that nullifies Unison gauge reduction 1 time. So we're gonna hop in, I'm gonna show you the ability, and then I'm gonna give you my opinion. So hang on just a second. Alrighty, so I'm in a match right now, and hopefully I don't die. But I'm using my abilities. There is that ability. It's actually really fast. It's faster than Blooming Blackout, which is the current best ability from soldiers. And it fits pretty well inside of the framework. I didn't have a problem with my uni gains. So honestly, I think that this is probably one of the most powerful abilities in the entire game. I mean, we will get to some other abilities, but as far as ability, like the new uni abilities goes, this is incredibly powerful. Just the number of hits and the amount of damage is so good. And before, in order to get stuff like Reliance State, so remember, Reliance State nullifies a single uni reduction effect. And that is a uni reduction effect, not you using your uni as it's. So if you have Reliance State and you use one of these uni abilities, it's still going to reduce your uni. You're not going to be able to avoid that. It's only when other people are going to apply it to you, like a uni reduction ability. So I think that that's incredibly powerful. Now, when I was using this ability, I didn't notice that I was getting a like one of these barriers, because it reads like reduces the ability. It reads like I get one of these barriers. Maybe I didn't see it, but we'll have to see. I don't know how impactful the damage reduction is going to be, but the Reliance State is massive, because when you're a soldier, you want to do really, really good damage. You want to do high damage, and all of your abilities give your entire team uni. So you are already really, really valuable now that unis are incredibly common. So we'll have to see how powerful this ability, this Indomitable Winter is. But I'm giving this a 10 out of 10 for soldiers. I think that soldiers are going to be one of, if not the best damage dealing classes in the game for PvP, or sorry, for PvE, for questing. And I also think that for guild battles, they're going to be incredibly useful. You'll basically need you needed a soldier before anyway, because there were cases where you needed to build uni and they were really helpful then. But being able to apply Reliance State while doing damage is so good. And the amount of damage is significant. It's not like a trivial amount of damage. So I think overall, this class has gotten a huge boost. Before, Blooming Blackout was a huge problem. The number of hits and the speed of it was just too low. So I really, really like Indomitable Winter. I think it is going to be a meta-defining ability for soldiers. I think that they're going to be, if you're a soldier, you should be very, very happy right now. All right, let's move on to the next ability. So we're going to go with Archer. It's 10 10-second cooldown, 15 union, bow main slot, enemy applies miasma, applies unison, prohibit unison, and applies beguilement. So beguilement's the only one that's really interesting here. And I want to do some testing to see if this applies before the damage is dealt. Because if this applies before the damage is dealt, that is going to be incredibly powerful. So, continuing reading here. It's a 5-hitter followed by another 5-hitter. The first is a 70% chance. The second is a 70% chance. They both scale attack and magic attack, and it goes 100 and 200 ability power. So if we compare this to their other ability, Assault Mirage, the ability power has gotten a huge boost. This is massive. So I'm gonna pause the video and do some testing, and we'll test it out. But I think this is gonna be a really good ability. Alrighty, so I'm in a match. I've got the new ability here. Oh no, that's not that new ability. Hang on, I made a mistake. I did not equip the new ability. That is one of the weapon abilities, because that I'm going to go over in just a second. I'm just a little bit tired, guys. There it is. All right, second time's the charm, right? So the idea is that I'm testing to see if beguilement applies first. So I'm going to debuff him, and I have to build 15 uni. And I didn't actually think about how to build uni. Hopefully, yeah, just keep attacking me. That would be great. One more. All right. So here's the moment of truth. It looks like it didn't apply because I did not get anything. So those hearts, that's beguilement. Let's see if it applies. No, it applies. It applies right away. That is unreal. So he doesn't have it right now. Here, let's go to the next round. So I can, or just get rid of my uni. This is the type of stuff that I wanted to do in this stream, is actually test it out. So I should have uni right away. So I'm going to hit him with the ailment resistance and then go straight into it. See, this is what he did. He protected. That's why I don't think I gained uni. So watch the uni bar. Yeah, it definitely applies. Dude, that's insane. It applies beguilement before you do the damage, and it unilocks. What the holy smokes. This is beyond broken. So thank you so much, Craig, for being my test dummy. You will be in the video, of course. Shout outs to Craig. So now you got to see. So you know how earlier I was talking about how beguilement resistance was actually pretty bad, and this monster gives beguilement resistance. I take that back. Upon this ability existing, beguilement resistance is now mandatory. If you don't have beguilement resistance, you're throwing. And there's basically no reason to not run multiple frontline archers now, especially if you're trying to run a kill strategy. This throws the whole Unison League meta through a loop. Because not only is it a damaging ability, so you can go into the back line and do lots of damage, but this ability is going to be absolutely meta defining just for the sheer fact that once you get once you get 15 uni, you can balloon that 15 uni into 100 uni in the blink of an eye. So this ability is honestly meta defining right now. It can be used in PvP. It can be used because it's one of the highest damaging abilities in the game. It can be used in PvE. It will be used in guild battle, and we will probably see lots and lots of kill strategies. I think Beguilement is 100% back. This ability scares the living daylights out of me. I did not expect any ability to be that powerful. So I think a lot of uni strategies are going to revolve around using this ability and trying to get your team 15 uni as fast as possible. Now, of course, we're gonna have to see. There's a lot of things up in the air, but the prohibit unison and the beguilement is just too strong, and it's a strong damaging ability. I didn't want to talk about these abilities now because there's a bunch of other abilities that came out as well. I was going to make a separate video on those, but I was reading through this one, and it applies subdue to yourself. And subdue apparently is a new buff that prevents unison gauge fill from damage from your attack abilities. So this you would think would be really good with something like this, but if the enemies don't gain uni when you attack, then you don't get any uni from beguilement. So as far as I can tell, heart and soul doesn't actually work with this ability. Time will tell. And I'm not going to test it right now because we have a lot of other abilities to go over, but this is a triple S tier ability. It doesn't fall on the standard 10 out of 10 scale. In my opinion, this is probably completely overtuned and will get adjusted. So let's go to the next ability. This is the mage ability. Usable when a staff is in the main slot, one enemy and the two adjacent enemies, so a total of 3 enemies, reduces unison gauge by 3 every second for 5 seconds. I've already talked about this. I don't think that's going to be very impactful. The second thing is 1 enemy and 2 adjacent, again 3 total. Ability power 3 deals damage 5 times that penetrates any nullifying or invulnerability effects with 100% chance. Now my guess is they meant to write 300, but I'm going to test out this ability anyway. It's definitely a PvP ability, not a PvE ability, and it falls under the same guidelines as before. 10-second cooldown, 15 unison to use. All right, let me hop in and we'll see. Alrighty. So I figured I would come in with some of the abilities that they would use in PvP, like Starburst. So Starburst, that is the speed of Starburst. Miserable Disaster, that's the speed of Miserable Disaster. And now I just need to get 15 uni. And this is the speed of Arcane Curse. So it's roughly the same speed as the other 3. And I believe that the ability power is probably talking about 300. But I don't think that my mage is strong enough to be able to kill people. If I can get uni again. Well, you can in fact kill yourself now as a mage. I completely forgot about that. Because before you wouldn't need reflection reduction, you could actually run 2 Because both this ability, Starburst, and Miserable Disaster. Man, I just keep missing. What's the accuracy on this? Huh. Bizarre. I wonder why I'm missing so much. Huh. The damage isn't that great, but it's probably around 300. My guess is it's 300. I can't imagine that with 3 ability power I would actually be doing any damage. Yeah, it's got to be way higher than 3 ability power. So that's good to know. And this is a really nice ability for mages right now because they don't have any ability that really does high damage that does that avoids the penetration and nullification, the nullification and vulnerability. Sorry, I'm feel like I'm so tired and sick. Basically, Starburst and Miserable Disaster both ignore damage reflection and damage reduction. So this is a nice ability to actually help mages round out. Shout out to Player, by the way. Hopefully he helps me do some more testing. But overall, I like this ability. Again, we'll have to see. There's kind of like a pending, who knows how much ability power this is actually supposed to have. But as of right now, 5 hits, it seems relatively equivalent to some of their other abilities. So it's not super fast. It's not going to be like a sniping monster ability, but I think it's a nice ability that helps round out mages in the PvE in the PvP and guild battle areas. I would say this is a solid 6 out of 10 move. I don't see the 3 uni reduction being very useful. The AoE is nice. The problem with AoEs is that it increases the chances of you feeding, so that I don't like. But I do like that it helps round out mages. And it makes mages a little bit better. As far as the rest of these uni abilities, though, harmonic, or sorry, this one, the arcane curse is probably one of, if not the worst abilities. So the next ability is the cleric ability. It is a cleric exclusive 60-second cooldown time, 25 uni. All allies removes, and you need a relic main slot. All allies removes status ailment, removes special status ailments, removes debuffs and special debuffs. All allies applies dual attack. All allies recovers 20 cost. This move is a monstrous move. I don't think that we really need to test it. If I did any testing, it would just be for speed. I guess I can do that real fast. But let me talk about the ability as well. So it's interesting because why do I keep clicking on that? Because clerics, they've kind of fallen by the wayside just in general. I don't think that clerics are very strong. But most of the good healing abilities, like the cleansing abilities, have fallen on book exclusives, things like this. Gospel cleanse is good, actually. Relics. See, it's interesting because I feel like, I don't know, I haven't played as much cleric as I should recently, but most clerics will run relic main slot. The problem with relic main slot is that there are actually quite a few good book abilities. Like this one, giving your whole team cost is really powerful. This one is also very powerful. Well, I'll in this one as well, Saint's Prayer. Yeah, this is another one. Also a book ability. So it is kind of weird that they made this a relic ability. Honestly, I think if they removed all of these book and relic exclusive abilities, I still think the cleric would probably be one of the worst classes in the game. However, with that being said, I still want to test this ability, see how fast it is compared to some of the other abilities. And it doesn't do any healing, but it does cleanse basically everything and give dual attack and cost. I really really like the dual attack for all allies. I think that's exceptionally powerful in things like PvE. That's actually really nice. So I'll hop in and we'll just test it real fast. All right, we're back in just a regular quest, and I'm gonna see how fast. So this is the speed of Circle of Innocence and Gospel Heal. I'm actually kind of disappointed still in the speed of Gospel Heal, and I think clerics need like a machine gun ability that gives a bunch of healing all at once, like consecutively. So this is the speed of Immaculate Sanctuary. You know, it's actually it's not too slow, not too fast. Obviously the cooldown time is insane, but I don't think it's too bad. I don't think it's a nice rounding ability that they kind of needed. Clerics definitely needed this. Specifically relic clerics, I think they'll benefit from this. The 20 cost is really good. The dual attack's really good. Overall, I'd say as an overall ability, this falls under the probably 3 out of 10. I don't think it's a great ability overall, but I also don't think clerics are in a good spot right now. So yeah, it's rough. But and spending 25 of your own uni to do this, it's kind of a risky endeavor, in my opinion. All right, the next one is Fortress Command. Usable when 3 or more weapon types are equipped. So this is an interesting thing. This is a trend we'll see with the upcoming abilities. I actually really don't like that because it makes Xenos gear slightly less viable, but we'll go over it. It says 60-second as well, 25 costs, so it better be really good. All allies reduces physical and magical damage taken by 90% for 5 seconds. All allies recovers 100% HP. All allies recovers 100% CP. All right, holy shit. This is an incredible ability. This is what clerics should be getting. So CP is so hard to heal as a cleric. You need incredibly high magic attack and magic defense in order to heal high amounts of CP. Rooks, however, get this as inherent as part of their abilities. So they get these two abilities. This one heals 40 CP right off the bat, and this one heals CP over time. So adding another CP ability that heals 100% and reduces incoming damage on your team is massive. Now I'm going to try and find some people to help me. I want to see if this applies to damage reduction, damage reflection, or abilities that ignore damage reduction. So we'll hop into a match and see. Hang on just a second. All right, we're gonna see if this works. Ketsy does not have a whole lot of attack, so we're gonna see if she can hit me. And once I get 25 uni, okay. All right, so for the next 5 seconds, I should be 90% immune. Yeah, it wore off. It's kind of hard to tell. I need her to kill me now. Maybe I should remove all of my damage reduction stuff. Yeah, hang on. I guess here we'll try it one more time and see. Oh, no, no, it didn't attack me. Okay. Hang on just a second. All right. So I've stripped myself of all of my damage reduction stuff and we're going to see if it works. It does. So you could see if it did apply one of the other buffs, like if it did apply one of the barrier type buffs, then what would happen is you would see it as part of my buffs. But those buffs are absent from me. As you can see, I only have a healing buff right now. So that means that this damage reduction that it is applying is a 90% damage reduction to all incoming damage. And they were using Rage Break, which ignores damage reduction and damage reflection. So that just proves, and I just want to also point out that this is what I'm currently wearing as far as defense. I have Resurrection and Health Regen. That's it. So if it was one of the abilities that, if it was an ability like barrier, like this, even though it reads the exact same way, if you apply barrier to yourself, it's ignored and it gives you a barrier buff on your character. But there was no buff. So this is a pure damage reduction, similar to how guard works. Even though guard has different wording, I just want to be clear that this is how that works. So it makes me think that this ability, which ability applied that? I thought we went over an ability that applied that. No? Okay. Well, I'm just I'm just so tired. There must be another ability because there's another ability I think that applies this type of debuff. But as far as abilities go, this is an incredibly powerful ability, and it was pretty fast too. As you can see, you could probably use something like Devoted Sacrifice and then use Fortress Command right after, and the two combined, you would basically increase your entire team's HP and CP, and you'd reduce the incoming damage. Honestly, this is an incredibly powerful ability. It does elevate rooks. They're significantly better, I think, than clerics now. Honestly, with this flexibility, you can use this in something like PvE. You can use this in Colosseum. You can use this in guild battles. Honestly, right outside of Clash, this would be a better ability than something like Devoted Sacrifice, potentially. Now, there are ways to counter this 5 seconds. You do have to be careful of moves that can time slice. There's not a whole lot of time slicing moves, but something like Time Spellbook does time slice, and it's not a whole lot of time slicing. It's only a 10-second time slice, but this only lasts for 5 seconds. So, of course, there are counters to everything in Unison League. That's what makes Unison League so good. But this is probably an 8 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10 ability. And it would absolutely be worth 25 uni to win right outside of a clash. Like right out, as soon as the clash is finished in something like Guild Battle, you use this ability, prevent all incoming damage, and heal anyone who was damaged from the unis because you get full CP. This is an incredibly powerful move. We'll have to see how defining it is, because there's a chance that it's not used a whole lot. If ninjas fall off because of, like archers being way, way better, then Devoted Sacrifice might not be as good. Or if ninjas are overused, then We'll have to see. There's a lot of things at play. This could change some things, but definitely a huge boost to rooks. I think rooks are going to be incredibly good now. Let's go over the next ability that I wanted to talk about. That is Million Cuts. It's a Zerker ability. Hits one enemy 5 times, and for 250 ability power is insane. Penetrates damage reduction, damage reflection with a success value of 50. So that's pretty bad. Same thing. So it looks like it does physical and magical damage. Interesting. So this is basically an ability that you can only use if you're playing dual blade or gun or bow, like an archer attack and magic attack type of Zerker. The reason why I think this might just be a bad ability in general, it doesn't do anything other than this, because 25 cost is a lot of cost. And to be honest, 50, just success value of 50 is really, really low. I guess we'll test it. But man, that is a very unfortunate ability. I don't think it's going to be very useful. But I guess we'll test it. I'm also concerned because here, I guess I'll explain my concern as well. A lot of the abilities that Zerkers have reduce your uni in some way. So for example, like Suicidal Bullet used to be an incredibly interesting ability because it was the highest ability power move in the entire game. People found out really quickly though it's really bad because it only damages once. I guess it damages twice because it does physical and magical damage one time each. But the implication when this first came out was, holy smokes, you could just instantly pop somebody. But the reality was that nobody used it because the damage, the uni gauge reduction was really awful. And it made using these types of abilities really bad. So I don't think that this is really going to be a very powerful ability, the Million Cuts, just because uni is so valuable for every class, but 25 uni is a lot. I guess we'll test it out though. So hang on just a second. Alrighty. So let's test out this ability. So some other abilities that are comparable, like these abilities here, you'd probably not run these types of abilities in PvP, but actually, 5 mil on a single hit is pretty high. Oh, he killed me. Let's test it again. It's the 50% that's killing me, the 50% chance. And do you see how he just applied barrier? That is what barrier looks like. Those things next to barrier, the sword, that's the barrier. So it's interesting. It penetrates damage reflection and damage reduction, so it should go through barrier. But I feel like it's not. Oh, he's eternity procking. I mean, I'm not super strong. This isn't like a good set. This is just the set that I have equipped right now. But it's interesting because of the amount of failures it's exceptionally high. I mean, this is a pretty big YOLO ability, in my opinion. I don't like it. The damage is good. The chance of it procking is really low. Overall, I'm not a big fan. Million Cuts deserves its own place in a garbage bin. As you could see, like, there were times that I attacked him and you could only see one tick of damage. Yeah, no, this is a really not great ability. It's just the success value is way too low on this. Even if you double proct with success value up, that would basically be the only way to run this. But there's no way to guarantee double or even triple procs, because triple procs is the only way to successfully get 100% consistently. But at that point, you're throwing unis, and then you can get other buffs, and other buffs can increase that. So it's a weird ability. You would never use this in PvE, so it's strictly a PvP ability. I mean, it is pretty fast, so that was nice. But yeah, I'm not seeing it. Like, why would you use million cuts when you can use just a plethora of other abilities that Zerkers have, and it has the restriction that you need to use 5 different weapon types. I just don't see the vision for this one. I'm gonna give this one a solid 6 out of 10. But Zerkers have plenty of 10 out of 10 abilities. So, and it's 25 cost. I just don't see a place for something like this. The next one is Missing Shadow. It is a treasure hunt ability where you need 3 different weapons. It has a 5-second cooldown, so the fastest cooldown that we've seen so far. 25 cost though. Is it worth it? It hits 3 times with 150 ability power, where you're using attack and magic attack with a 70% chance. You're also hitting 5 times with 120 ability power, so slightly less, with a higher chance of hitting at 80, also attack and magic attack. The enemy cost reduction or cost recovery speed is reduced by 10. I'm pretty sure that is the maximum. So that is huge. Reduces Unison gauge gains by 3 for 10 seconds, which is also very, very good. The only class that can really do lots of Unison gain reduction is Lancer. So now having Treasure Hunter be able to do it as well is potentially good. We'll have to kind of see. Reduces Unison gauge by 3 every second for 5 seconds. That one I'm not a big fan of. Again, I've kind of talked about this. So is this ability worth it? It's a really interesting ability because it has exceptionally high damage values for a treasure hunter. Treasure hunter has been getting some really weird abilities, and I have actually seen treasure hunters as well in things like Mobius that have ranked really high, and they're using weird abilities like this one, Royal Flash, that is basically using every single stat under the moon, and you hit for pretty good damage. So it's interesting to see another ability that does that, but then the abilities down here don't really make a whole lot of sense, right? Because like this right here is damage. So the higher your damage, the higher your attack, the higher your magic attack, the more damage you're going to do. And that seems all well and good. But if you're a treasure hunter racer and you're in guild battles, then you don't want to reduce your own unison. But at the same time, this reduces cost recovery speed, reduces unison gauge gains, and reduces unison gauge, which tells me that this is supposed to be a PvP and a guild battle move, but it does good damage and it scales well, and at the same time you have to use your own uni to use it. Man, that is just an awful combination. I guess we'll try it though. Hang on real fast. Alrighty. So shout out to Not Catsy. If I didn't say that already, I think I did at some point. But I wanted to shout out her. She's going to hit me with the new ability. Oh, and she killed me. You know, now that I think about it, I don't have any defense equipped. I I never re-equipped it. So I'm probably just gonna end up dying. Yeah. All right, hang on a second. All right, I actually have my defense gear on this time. So we're gonna see, and I want to show you guys the cost recovery down in the bottom. As soon as she uses it, I want to show you guys how I guess I'll use it. So it is actually a slower ability. So I have 68 and it is going up super slow, as you can see. So that is an interesting ability. You know, I the damage I think excludes it from being something that you could possibly ever use in guild battles, and the fact that you have to use uni. But I could see this absolutely being an ability that you use in PvE. I'd say this ability is a really, really unique one. And it does actually increase TH's abilities when it comes to PvE. Treasure hunters have slowly been accumulating more and more abilities that give them dual scaling, increased dual scaling capabilities, especially in the PvE side. So it's really interesting to see. I'm curious. Most of the abilities that have come out from treasure hunters recently have been quad scaling abilities. So you would run like bow and gun, and then probably one dual blade, something like that. And then you would run some like royal flash, and I think they got another ability as well that would go really well with like a quad scaling build, right? And then you would run really high attack, really high defense, and you would have, because this one scales with attack and defense, magic attack, magic defense, magic attack, and attack and attack and magic attack. And you only need one of these. And then for this one, you only need three. And then like this one as well does pretty good damage, and it scales attack and magic attack, and this one does pretty good damage, scales defense, magic defense. So it's interesting, they've got quite a plethora of abilities. You could also use something like thievery, which is attack magic attack. I'm curious because I don't think it's out right now. Yeah, it's still tallying. It's too early in the morning. It's really interesting. Some of the highest stats players in the entire game are treasure hunters, because treasure hunters get a massive boost to all of their stats. So I'm curious if this will actually elevate treasure hunters to a whole new level when it comes to PvE. Now, I don't think you should ever use this in PvP or guild battle. For PvP and guild battle, this is a 1 out of 10 ability. You're getting further away from your own uni. It is a really unique ability, but the only time, and this is a really bizarre build, like that I'm just thinking up right off of the bat, is like the only thing that I can think of that you would ever use this type. Oh, they also, I completely forgot about this ability too. Oh no, it doesn't dual scale. I remember this when this ability came out, and I was thinking like, why would anyone use this? And it's still not being used a whole lot. Yeah, but the only way that I can imagine somebody actually using this type of build is if you ran a damage treasure hunter, and you would run this with Royal Flash, and then you'd run probably something like Unisharing, Devil's Kiss, and it'd be a really, really bizarre damage build. That's like the only way that I could possibly think. Or if you were running like a half support, half damage build in something like guild battles, You know what I mean? Like you would have like Mind of Clover to increase your team's Unison gauge, and then you would use something like Unishare, and then the other treasure hunter. So normally you run like two or three treasure hunters. The other treasure hunter gets their uni. Then you have close to uni, right? And then you can use something like Royal Flash to kill somebody, get uni, and then uni, and then when you're in the crystal, maybe you can use something like Missing Shadow to do damage to the crystal. But honestly, the build that I just came up with is complete garbage. Just because the ability powers on these is just too low. I mean, Royal Flash could probably be used like that. The problem that I would have with Royal Flash is that, or for any of these types of builds, is that treasure hunters just don't want to do damage. Like if you're going to do damage, you would want to do it on another class. So the only instance where you actually want to do damage is in something like PvE. So yeah, I'm not seeing the vision for Missing Shadow. I do think it boosts them into pretty good range. Treasure hunters can probably do a good amount of damage in something like in quests now. So that's exciting. Hopefully we do see some more treasure hunters in questing. Let's go on to the next ability though. I believe it is this one. And there are two. And I'll go over, we'll just test them simultaneously. And I never gave this a rating. I'd probably rate this, it's a pretty good damaging ability. I'd probably rate this an 8 or a 9 out of 10 for PvE. This is a really nice ability. I mean, it hits 8 times and it dual scales attack, magic attack, and it does good damage like on a treasure hunter too. It's good. It's good. I like it. So I'm going to go over these two and these two at the same time because these two are both on Ninja. These two are both on Morpher. So first, for Demon Slash, 15-second cooldown, 15 Unison, must use dual blades as the main slot. All enemies, 300 ability power. That's actually pretty high for ninjas. And just in general, that's high. But it only hits one time. Penetrates damage reduction and damage reflection with 100%. All enemies. So it looks like, yeah, this is a cleave ability. So it's an all enemy thing. Reduces Unison gauge by 10. Yourself applies alert, which reduces the success value of all abilities inflicted on the target by 90. Abilities are applies to all effects such as damage, buffs, debuffs, Unison gauge reduction effects, as well as recovery effects. So this basically makes you a ninja. So finally, for 5 seconds. So finally, ninjas are actually ninjas. When you use this ability, you should just become invisible and basically nothing in the game should be able to hit you. Your allies can't see you. The enemies can't see you. I'm excited to test this ability because I think that it is a really interesting ability. And I do think it's going to be really, really powerful. Because for example, before you would use something like, so for example, in guild battles, right after Crystal Assault, you would use something like Wind Shear. And the enemies would use something like Divine, they would use Devoted Sacrifice, which is, if I can find it, right there. Right, yeah. So Devoted Sacrifice applies Divine Shield. That is the name of the ability or the buff that protects your team when you get hit. So no one on your team dies when you have Devoted Sacrifice, when you use Devoted Sacrifice and you have Divine Shield. So before, you would use something like Wind Shear, because right out of Clash, so you come out of Crystal, and you didn't kill Crystal, or the enemies didn't kill Crystal. You immediately throw Uni. You go into the Clash. You come out of Uni. Any surviving members on the enemy team, if they don't have a Rook, you would use Wind Shear, and you would instantly kill every single enemy on the enemy team. Now, if they do have a Rook, then what would happen is you would use Wind Shear after their Devoted Sacrifice to remove Divine Shield, so that the enemies would all die. This is also a really nice ability because the Unison gauge reduction by 5, you can, so something like right out of Unison, or right out of Crystal Assault, if you use this ability, you could reduce the enemy's Unison gauge, and then they can't uni in the Clash, and then that makes the Clash easier. Now, with this new ability that we're talking about, Demon Slash, it basically does the same thing, except it's a more powerful ability, so it guarantees killing more often if the enemies don't have a Rook. So if the enemies don't have a Rook, before you would use something like Wind Shear, and Wind Shear would kill some of the time, but it wouldn't kill all of the time. And depending on what buffs you had, or if the enemies had removed all of your buffs with things like, if they used time slicing abilities and they stripped you completely, then there is a chance that you wouldn't be able to kill with Wind Shear. And if the enemies had like Rooks, it would make it really, really hard. Now, if they don't have Rooks, you actually have a chance to kill them. But even if you don't kill them, you become a ninja and you become completely invisible. So we're going to test this ability. The other ability, also dual blades, same thing, 15-15. Also does 300. This one does magic, penetrates, damage reduction, damage reflection. Removes, this one's really interesting actually. All enemies applies debuff removal resistance that blocks debuff removal, special debuff removal, and Kismet one time. Also applies marked for 30 seconds. So the first debuff is actually incredibly powerful, with a caveat. Like, if you, in certain situations, it can be top tier. In other situations, it can be incredibly bad. So, for example, mages have another ability that's very, very similar to this. Now, the question is, can I find it? This one, Karma. Karma is really, really powerful. What it does is it reverses the buffs. So let's say that they just use something like Valk, and the Valk gives them 180 attack, magic defense. Karma would flip those buffs. So then they would go from 180 to just minus 80 in all of those buffs. That's what Karma does. So this type of, and there are ways to remove that, right? So you would have a cleric, and the cleric would come in and they would use the brand new ability that they just got that removes the status ailments, the debuffs, and all that stuff, and they would be happy, right? But this new ninja ability, this one is really interesting because it applies a debuff removal resistance. So we'll have to see how powerful this is. I don't think it'll be super impactful. I like the other one, Demon Slash, way more. But I do like the idea of Tengu's Dance, and we'll kind of go over it as well. All allies applies marked. So what does marked do? There are some new abilities that apply marked. For example, this one applies marked. It's a flickering flash ability. And this ability, if the enemy is marked, then it applies abstraction. So it's the first ability to ever apply abstraction that's on a base unit. I think there might have been maybe one or two weapon abilities that had abstraction on them. I might be wrong about that as well, but abstraction is incredibly powerful. It removes, if you have abstraction on you, it's a debuff, then you will no longer have any passives. So any of your constant abilities like Xenos Gear will go away. Same thing with reflection reduction. All of your constants get removed. So this Tengu's Dance applies marked to all enemies, and then this one you can hit 3 enemies and apply abstraction. So it's an interesting combo. I don't think abstraction is particularly powerful, but it remains to be seen. Let's test these abilities. I'll be right back. Alrighty, so let's test speed. This is the new ability compared to Wind Slash or Wind Shear. Honestly, I don't think it's that fast. I'm surprised it's not faster. Like Wind Shear is almost instant. This ability, you can see the delay versus Wind Shear is like bam. It's pretty fast. So I'm surprised it's pretty slow, honestly. Let's test the other ability on the other side. So this is Phoenix, and this is the new ability, Tengu's Dance. You know, that one was much faster. I was surprised. That one was much faster. Phoenix is fast. Sorry about that. I'm still sick. Tengu's Dance. You know, I think Tengu's Dance is actually a lot faster. Like this one, Demon Slash is slow. You can just see it slow. So yeah. It's interesting. I'm not a big fan of either of these abilities in like by themselves, but I think adding them to the collection of abilities that ninjas have access to is incredibly powerful. That is where the value comes in, because it's the flexibility that these abilities have. The alert is also really, really useful. So we're going to test the alert now. All right, now we're going to test the alert buff. So I should, as soon as I get enough uni, I should... Oh, okay. This is perfect. Shout out again to Kay and Not Catsy. You guys are awesome. So they should be trying to kill me now, and we'll see. Tons of misses. And as soon as it goes away, which it only lasts for 5 seconds, as soon as it goes away, it's extremely obvious. So I'm using the ability again. They should just go ham on me. Oh, I still can get hit. It's interesting. You know, I actually think that this ability is potentially extremely powerful just for the fact that, you know, now that I think about it, the alert ability, the part of it is actually really, really powerful. I want to test it again, and I want to see if they can do it again. All right, so we're running it back, and I'm having them try to kill me as fast as possible. So this would be like a situation right outside of guild battle. And look at that. My ability went off fast enough, and look, they can't even kill me. It's a really fascinating ability. So the reason why I like this ability now that I'm actually using it in this context is because the idea that if only one thing hits you, you can gain uni instantly, right? You have a 90% chance of avoiding abilities that come your way. But if an ability does manage to penetrate that 90% and hits you really, really hard, usually you won't die to a single hit, and you'll be able to gain uni, like a massive amount of uni all at once. You'll be able to like boost. So I'm actually really, really liking this ability, especially if the enemies don't have any rooks. And it's interesting. I have seen a decline of rooks in guild battles, but I have not seen a massive decline in the number of ninjas. This ability is honestly going to become probably the most powerful ability ninjas have access to. I think that it's hard to say, because if the enemies still have if they still have a rook, then it's more beneficial to use wind shear to cleave off the divine shield. But as soon as, if you have like two ninjas on the front line, one ninja uses wind shear, the other ninja uses this new ability, and you're almost guaranteed to not die, regardless of the enemy's buffs. Now, I may be wrong about that. I'm not sure exactly how enemy buffs are going to apply against this. It's kind of still in the early stages of testing, and I would want to test this in more real life situations. But this ability, Demon Slash, is probably again a meta defining ability. I don't think it's going to be as powerful as the new Archer ability, because this Archer ability, Corrupted Embrace, is beyond broken. The beguilement, being able to beguile the enemies before you do the damage and then instantly gain uni, it's just broken. So I think Demon Slash is like, if this is triple S tier, beyond the 10 out of 10 scale, like meta defining, potentially way broken, this is probably double S tier is where I'd put it. So it's not on the 10 out of 10 scale. It's above the 10 out of 10 scale for specifically all forms of PvP. So PvP, guild battle, I think this is a really, really nice, flexible move. And I don't see really many downsides to this move. Like, the biggest downside is that your allies can't heal you, but clerics suck anyway. So why would you even be worried about that? You know, yeah, I don't see a world where this is a bad move. It just, actually, now that I think about it, it's because you can't use this move right out of Uniclash, because it costs uni. I keep forgetting that these new moves cost uni. So like right out of Uniclash, you can't use it, which would apply also to Fortress Command. But I don't think Fortress Command has the same problem, because right out of Uniclash, you wouldn't be using Fortress Command anyway. I mean, you could, but you'd be using DS most of the time. And after DS, you would normally have 25 uni. So I was wrong about Fortress Command just in that situation as well, now that I'm thinking about it. But the cost on this one is just because it costs uni. It's such a bizarre skill now that I think about it. I don't know where to put this. It's probably now this is, you guys, this is my real reaction, right? I don't usually, most of the time I go in pretty raw and just go off the rip. And this is one of those times that it's really obvious. It's interesting because I think it's still really powerful. For example, like in guild battles, if the enemy team is trying to kill you, or if you're trying to kill the enemy team, and it becomes one of those weird things where everyone is just, it's an all-out brawl in Unison, in guild battle, like round one, I think alert is still really, really powerful. And I do see some situations where this could still be used in the situations that I was talking about. Like, let's say that you did get uni reduced, or your team wasn't fully able to get uni, and you didn't get uni. So then right out of the clash, you could use this ability. Man, it's so hard to place this ability. I think you still need rooks because you can't use this right out of Uni Clash. You would have no Uni unless here's an idea. You know, you could actually use this right out of Uni because let's say that you weren't in the Uni. So you could have a ninja. Here's an example. So I guess I'm right and I'm also wrong. You could have a ninja that swaps in for an ally that used a uni. So like let's say that you have a cleric and the cleric goes into the clash, and then as the clash is progressing, you both agree to do the swap. The ninja will have a 1 second swap, and as soon as the ninja comes in, he can use the ability, as well as any abilities that are currently targeted towards the cleric will disappear as soon as the ninja comes in. So the ninja won't get hit if there was any diffusion moves. And then the ninja can come in, he can use this ability. And even if your entire team gets wiped almost instantly, you can have that ninja use like jump, right? Because we were just talking about how you would be killing and if you did get hit with any moves, then you'd probably instantly gain uni. So I like this ability actually. And if you in the 5 seconds, right, you can use this ability plus you can use another ability. There's a chance that you could actually gain uni. If you were at 100 uni beforehand, there's a chance even if they don't even attack you with any more abilities, you could potentially gain uni. So that might be a new strategy going forward, is you have somebody in the back line intentionally, or somebody in the front line that starts to go into your uni throws, and they're just somebody who you're going to instantly swap into a ninja who uses Demon Slash. That could be a really interesting strategy. That would take some coordination and you would need to practice it, but that would be a way to do what I was just talking about. And then you could have another ninja on the front line, use something like Wind Shear if the enemies have a rook. So yeah, that's it. I have to keep that in mind though, because the uni is something that I'm not used to uni being part of the cost. So would I still consider this triple S tier or double S tier? Probably not. This is probably 10 out of 10 ability though. I would still say that this could absolutely win. This could solo win Coliseum matches just on its own. So in that regard, I really, really like it. But it's probably not double S tier. I don't think it's meta defining or broken. It's really interesting though. We'll have to see. More testing is required. I'm gonna give it a tentative 10 out of 10 for now. Tengu's Dance. That one was a lot faster. It was equivalent to all the other ones. And the marked I was disappointed with. Like, I don't think marked is worth it. So for Tengu's Dance, although it's faster, I just don't think it's worth it. Like, I would rather just use Phoenix at that point if I was going to use something. Yeah. So Tengu's Dance, I'm going to put at a 6 out of 10. I think that there are situations where maybe marked is good for abstraction. If you were running a support ninja, and you, like in Coliseum specifically, if you were running a support ninja where you would run really, really low damage, you would run Tengu's Dance, hit the entire enemy team, you'd use abstraction, and then you could set up for your teammates, but you'd have to communicate with them. So maybe it would be one of those things where you talk with your teammates, which I know a lot of people don't do. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of Tengu's Dance. I'm going to say that that's probably not the one. 6 out of 10 for Tengu's Dance, although I was surprised. Let's talk about Dauntless Action. So there's a new buff out. This one gives you Immortal. So before, this is I guess I should start at the very beginning. This is a Morpher exclusive 30 cooldown time, 25 uni, targets yourself, gives yourself immortal. The only other ability in the entire game that gives immortal that I'm aware of is Immortal Heart. And it basically makes you completely invulnerable, so you can't die. So that's nice. And having another ability, we'll have to see how powerful this is. But for 5 seconds, you're completely immune to damage. Yourself applies inertia, which fills Unison gauge based on the amount of damage transferred from allies for 20 seconds. So it's a buff that converts allies' damage into your uni for the first time ever. So we'll have to see how powerful this is. All allies, including yourself, or excluding yourself, transfers 50% of the damage taken by target to yourself for 20 seconds. That is incredibly interesting because morphers have an ability here. I'm going to swap to morpher. I want to know if this is an ability that you can apply on at the start. It is. Can you apply it to the awakened version? You cannot. So morpher, if you don't know, has two different states, right? It has the morphed state and it has the unmorphed state. Now, this is a really interesting ability because there is another morpher ability called Bulwark that transfers 100% of the damage taken by a target for 5 seconds and reduces damage taken by your character by 50% for 5 seconds. So what you can do is you can use Bulwark in conjunction with Dauntless to boost this damage transferred from 50% up to 100%. And now that I'm thinking about it, you could even do it again. There's another ability called Knight's Devotion, which can transfer 50% of the damage taken by one ally to yourself. Costs 0, and this applies for 30 seconds. So, as a morpher currently in the game, as a completely unmorphed morpher, you can use this ability, Dauntless, and in conjunction with Bulwark and Knight's Devotion to protect two teammates 100% and convert all of the damage that you take or that they take into your uni. That's really fascinating. And at the same time, you're immortal. So for 5 seconds after you use this ability, you're completely immortal. That's a really fascinating combo. I'm trying to think if that would even be good. I mean, I guess we'll test it. We'll test it and see. The other ability, let's go over that one. The other ability is this one. Forbidden Temptation. Usable when 5 or more weapon types are equipped. So it's going to be quite difficult to stack that. It is 30-second cooldown time. So that is massive. That is a super long cooldown time. And 50 uni. So half a uni bar. This is incredibly expensive. So what does it do? Ability power 200, which is really high. Deals physical damage 5 times using attack and defense with a success value of only 50. Same thing, magic attack, magic damage by magic attack, magic defense by 50 as well. And then 3 times with attack and magic attack, 50% as well. And 3 times with defense and magic defense, yourself recovers 50 cost. So this is like an ether exchange ability, right? So you would use like I'm just theorizing right now. Instead of running ether exchange, which you would normally run ether exchange, you would run something like you'd have the forbidden temptation, and you would run like a bunch of damaging abilities. I guess I'll make a set and I'll swap over and we'll talk about it. All right, so I went over some abilities. I'd probably run Shining Sword, Ground Burst, the Stardust Gazer, and then Forbidden Temptation as the combo. I still ran Ether Exchange because you had the space, and of course you have to run Shining Aura. And then I think I'll converse with these guys and see if we can do some testing to see how well this combo works. So I'll be right back. Alrighty, so first we're gonna test just using the Dauntless ability right off of the rip. So I am gaining Uni, she's taking less damage. Well, right now she's taking 0 damage. But it only lasts for, I guess it lasts for 20 seconds. She's not taking any damage right now, but as soon as so wait, how long does this last? Target allies. Did 20 seconds pass? Bruh. Catsy, you gotta kill us faster, man. Alright, let's test this again. And I should be immune right off of the bat. Oh, so for the first 5 seconds, I'm completely immortal to damage. So I'm still taking the damage. So as you can see, still taking the damage for her. And now she's on her own because 20 seconds have passed. I can use these two abilities to supplement. Now she will take, oh, and I can reapply Dauntless. This is actually a really interesting. So before, morphers were considered really, really bad by basically everyone for guild battles and for PvP. And the reason being is that they just didn't have enough strong support abilities that could really benefit the team. But I'm finding that, that might not be the case. Well, we'll do some more testing. Alrighty. We swapped up the team. Let's see how this goes. Same thing. Man, so I want to catch the moment that, like, if my teammate dies, for example, I want to see. Yeah, I want to see that. I want to see me with immortal buff and my teammate basically dead, right? So the idea would be that you would use Dauntless right off of the bat, and then you'd use something like Bulwark, and boom, there it is. So that's what I wanted to see. So it's interesting. I think the uni gain is okay. The problem is that when you get hit with small amounts of damage like that, the amount of uni that you gain is also exponentially smaller compared to if you get hit with a single ability. Compared to if you get hit with a single ability. Now, what is my prediction for where this ability falls? I'm gonna do the testing on the other ability right after this, but I do think, I am gonna also go over. There are some new abilities that they got. I was gonna go over all of these in my predictions for how, because they're different, right? They're not uni abilities, but this one came out, and it gives all allies Unison Gauge. And there are other abilities now that are giving your team, or there are other abilities like this ability, the Corrupted Embrace, that are leading me to believe that killing is going to become exceptionally popular. I don't think that killing is going away. There's also this bad boy here, which I'm also going to go over in a separate video, but it applies a new ability called Daredevil, which if an enemy dies, you gain 60 Unison Gauge. And that's for 40 seconds, and it costs nothing. And it also recovers your HP. So the whole meta, the way that the game meta is going to be shaping up, in my opinion, is that killing people right off of the rip is going to become exceptionally popular. And because I think that killing people is going to be meta, I think that most people are going to stop racing. I think that racing is like a dying breed right now. I think that people will still continue to race because people have invested so much time racing. But I honestly believe that racing is probably a dead sport. I think that racing is probably going to become less and less and less and less common, to the point where I think racing might just potentially disappear. Now, that is a long shot, but I do think that some teams are still going to race, and I do think that some teams are going to go for kill strategies, and we're going to have to see which strategy is going to win. But in my opinion, the last few GGTs have proved that the more flexible team usually wins, and the more flexible teams more recently have been kill teams that can swap to racing teams if needed. And so I think what we're probably going to end up seeing in the new meta is a racing type of meta where you only have one racer on your team, maybe two racers on your team, and you don't even have them in on the front line. What you would end up having in on the front line is one treasure hunter, and that one treasure hunter is going to use something like Unison Gauge abilities like Mind of Clover, and then, or there's another one that was more recent, Lion's Heart, something like that, right? And then you'll have champions or classes like this, and they'll use this new ability, Courageous Shout, to increase Unison Gauge. I think you'll see Lancers trying to slow down uni gain. I think that you'll get lots of cost abilities where you'll get cheers and other things like that. I think that you'll have berserkers on the front line trying to kill people. I think that you'll have plenty of really interesting, we'll have to see, but potentially morphers on the front line trying to build and support their team. Brave Guard, things like this. Oh, I didn't even see this one. Area of yourself targets transfer 50% of the damage to yourself. Oh, okay. So the two people closest to you, you take 50% of their damage for 30 seconds. So essentially, with Dauntless and Knight's Devotion and Bulwark and Brave Guard, you can protect the entire team indefinitely. So that's a really interesting combo. Now, I think this will become exceptionally common. I can't see a world where you're no longer trying to I can see a world where racers are no longer the meta, where your sole goal is to try and kill the enemies to gain uni, and the only counter to this killing is if you have maybe even frontline rooks will become popular, right? Because devoted sacrifice right off of the bat um, will be popular. But and this is why I love this game, right? Because if devoted sacrifice becomes a popular ability, because okay, think about it like this new ability, courageous, what was it called? Corrupted Embrace, that applies beguilement before it kills, that only gives you uni if you're doing damage to the enemy, if they're getting uni. But something like Devoted Sacrifice doesn't give that person uni. It gives the rook all of the damage. So they're not taking any damage. So a counter to this might be a frontline, that treasure hunter that we were talking about, that support treasure hunter. They might use something like cancel. So we might end up seeing like a mind clover cancel type of build with unison sharing and cheer, something like that. That might be an exceptionally popular build. We're gonna have to see huge meta changes. I think Dauntless is potentially meta defining. We're going to have to tell. If you have, here's an interesting question. So there's two problems. How do I even put Dauntless action? Where do I rank it? It's interesting because it does give you a mortal heart. So, but you can't use it right out of something like Clash, right? We already talked about how you'd basically have 0 uni out of Clash. So it's not something that you would want out of Clash. But even if it was something that you wanted to use, if you swapped in, so for example, if you had 2 ninjas and you swapped in 2 morphers and you both use Dauntless action right after Clash, it would potentially give your team 100% damage reduction, transfer damage, and it would give 2 allies Immortal Heart, and you could have a rook as well. This is a really, there's a ton of interesting pieces at play here, and I think that it will be absolutely an ability that gets used. Now the question is, how popular is it going to become? That is the question. And that is why it's so hard to judge an ability like this. It does cost 25 uni, so you would need somebody else to courageous shout you, and then you would need to uni share in order to even reach Dauntless action. So it's kind of hard to say. I would say though, I have confidence that people will probably be able to figure out something. So, as far as where I think this will end up shaking up, I think it's probably going to be. I think I'm safe putting it at a 7 out of 10 for right now, because I'm curious where the meta will end up. I could be completely wrong about this. This could be a 10 out of 10 ability, but I'm going to put this as a 7 out of 10 for right now. I think that the uni cost is going to be hard for people to use right off the bat. But I think as soon as some new meta changes happen, and I think as soon as things move around a little bit, I think people will get accustomed to this ability and they'll realize how powerful it is. So now we're going to talk about Forbidden Temptation, and I have to go into a match, and I'll gain uni. We'll hop in. Alrighty, so I'm in a quest right now, and I just wanted to show you. So I'm running low on cost, right? He's straining me, and now I can use this ability, Forbidden Temptation. Boom. And now I'm back to good cost. So I think this is a pretty good build to kind of show off how you would use this ability. You'd cycle your main abilities like this, and then you would supplement your cost when you got low. You would supplement your cost with this, which I demorphed. I'm at 0 cost right now, right? And then I can use Forbidden Temptation, boom, gain 50 cost, and then I can go back up with this. I actually really like Forbidden Temptation. It's a little bit slow. It's a little bit on the slow side, but I like it. I like it. And it only hits one enemy, doesn't it? Yeah, just targets one enemy. So it's not random like Rainbow or Rainbow Star. What was the name of that ability? Rainbow Detonation? Man, I have not used that ability in so long, I can't even remember the name. Rainbow Flare. There it is. So it has about the same ability time usage as Rainbow Flare, which is a really slow ability. It is really slow, but I think the damage output is going to be incredible. And the amount of hits is unbelievable. So to put this in perspective, right? So like let's compare it to one of the most broken abilities currently before all of these new meta changes. Before, one of the most broken abilities in the entire game was Assault Mirage. Hits 5 times, and then another 5 times, both at 120. So it hits a total of 10 times at 120 ability power. This one hits 5 times, 5 times, 3 times, 3 times. So this hits 16 times. So that is a 60% increase in total number of hits and an 80 ability power increase on damage as well. That is massive. So full stats going as high into gear score as possible as a morpher is the way to go. Honestly, that is and you're going to have incredible damage. And you can run other abilities too. You can run Starglazer, you can run Shining Sword. There's some really good abilities that morphers have gotten, and they will be morphers. I think overall is going to be an incredibly good class. They are already required, but this just elevates them. Forbidden Temptation is incredibly good. It fits perfectly with Morpher, and even if you're not a quad scaling character, if you just dual scale, this ability might be worth it. Might be worth it. We'll have to see. I still think it will be worth it just because of the number of hits. I think that the number of hits and the cost gain makes this the most powerful PvE ability in the entire game. So the most powerful PvE class, the Morpher, because of Shining Aura, has now gotten the most powerful PvE ability in the entire game. And we'll see. I think that Morphers are going to be something that ends up in guild battle. And if that's the case, then having Morphers do damage to the crystal is going to become more common. And we might see full gear score Forbidden Temptation Morphers in guild battle. So I'm really excited. That is every single ability of these new abilities here. I am going to make a video talking about all of the new abilities, like these bad boys that just came out. I'm going to be making a separate video on those, and I'm also going to be making a separate video on the weapon abilities that just came out as well. There are a bunch of weapon abilities that also have Unison here as well. And these are all free. This is going to become a more common thing, so we'll have to see. But I'm going to be making videos on those. I know this was a really, really long one. I wish that this was a stream, but I just don't have the time, and I don't think that it's a good time anyway. It's like 5 a.m. right now. So I will catch you guys later. Thank you so much. And those are my opinions on all of the new Unison abilities.